I've been asked a lot what I think about dipping on those V stations, and so I decided to make a whole video about it. So today we will clarify the ups and downs of dipping on a V station. Before we're starting the video, I just want to make a big Black Week announcement. Until the end of this week, our adjustable SL Pro dip bars and all the street lifting equipment will be available for an amazingly reduced price, so you can get those beauties for below 400 bucks. The first time ever that you are able to get adjustable dip bars that cheap. So until the end of this week, make sure to pre-order yours. A small disclaimer. If you take a look at my old videos, you will see that I did my first 10 years almost of weighted calisthenics on a station like that, and I survived. So it cannot be that bad. So when we're talking about risks and downsides of these bars, you need to put it into context. I'm not here to make any fear marketing just to sell you better bars. So we want to make it as objectively as possible in this video. So when you hear my critique for these bars, put it into context. It's not about dangerous and not dangerous. It's small percentages of really making your dips better with better equipment, but it will still work on a V station like that. Now let's start with the perks of a V station like that. I think the biggest advantage that they have is the availability. So there's tons of companies selling them, and actually for all rack sizes you can get a fitting V station like that. It is not very pricey, so I think depending on how heavy they can be loaded, they start at around 80 to 100 bucks on Amazon or from different sellers. And perk number 3 is they are super easy to build up and adjust in height. So what we would do is we just take it in the rack here like that, and now we set. There's also a safety pin coming in here, and then we are done and we can start dipping without a problem. Now let's talk about the downsides. I think the biggest downside of a bar like that is stability. If we take a look at how it is mounted on the rack, it has a lot of room to move. So even if we load it heavy, because if the heavier we're loading it, the more stable it becomes, as a lot of force is pressing it against the rack, we still have a lot of options to shake left and right. And so from my point of view, the biggest downside of these bars is stability. Downside number 2 is also somewhat an advantage. Due to this V shape, it offers different grip widths that we can use. Now, the problem really just starts if you are a smaller individual that needs a more narrow grip. Let's say I need a more narrow grip. So what do we have here? A hand and 2 fingers, which is like not even that narrow, it's more moderate width. If I do that, then if I want to dip, you can see I'm dangerously close to the bar in front. And that can become problematic, because if the bar is very, very close to our head, what it does is it does not allow us to have a natural forward lean. So we need to stay more upright, and that will lead to much more elevation than we probably want to have, because that can be a bit more stressful on our shoulders. If you are a bigger individual, if you like very wide grips anyway, so on that station it would be like that, so a super wide grip, I can handle it. Then it would be okay, because then I have definitely enough room to the front in order to dip. Now, as I can hear your thoughts already after 10 years of YouTube, just turn around. So if we turn around, first problem is that if we're now doing weighted, heavier weighted, we cannot enter comfortably from a box, as it will always be in the way. So entering in a very controlled fashion would then just be possible again with the super wide grip. So if you're not doing heavy weighted, probably no problem. If you want to do heavy weighted calisthenics, it's a problem, because now this is my grip rift here. Now I have weights hanging in here. boxes in the way. So there will probably be workarounds, but it's still not comfortable. And if we really want to push towards the competition, that stuff is actually annoying. Then, second downside is, as now we're not facing this slightly internal rotated bar position, but the slightly external rotated bar position, we can actually have the problem that our elbows are slightly driven inward. And that is not very nice in order to transfer force into the bars. And as we're looking for maximum force output, we want to be able to roughly remain our elbows above the wrist, roughly. And if the bars are driving the elbows inside, then that can become a problem as it costs us a bit of strength. I also heard the argument that this might be beneficial for chest as it provides a bit more stretch as we are driven into external rotation. I don't think that is a good argument as we're deleveraging the chest a bit, and just to provide more stretch does not mean more gains, because otherwise you would also start to bench press like that, and no one would do that because it does not load the chest much more, but just the rotator cuffs. It just has more demands on rotation without actually providing further gains, at least in my opinion. If you are prone to shoulder discomfort from dips and you think the reason for that is the V station, then we might take a look at the different parameters that could cause shoulder pain in dips. Probably the first one is just how you set up your program. In most cases, it's just too much load, too much frequency, or too much volume, or a combination of all of these, and you're just overworked with that specific movement. The second part is your technique. In order for the shoulder to move properly, the arm needs to be able to go behind the back comfortably. If you are an individual that is pretty stiff and you lack in shoulder internal rotation, what can happen is, if you have a V station like that, and you also start in that position, so elbows pointing to the side, that you're running out of internal rotation and then the shoulders are coming up like that. That is promoted by the V station, but it's not caused by the V station. So what you could do in that case is you try to get a bit more of a neutral grip. So you slightly rotate the elbows in, and then you start with the inside of the elbows pointing forward like that. Because now you can see my upper arm has a lot of room to move into internal rotation, allowing me to comfortably dip deep without shrugging up. I can still remain all the stability that I need. So would it be better on a parallel bar? Yes. Is it problematic on the V-bar? No. Now let's compare it to a professional weighted calisthenics / street lifting dip station. The main difference is that it has a lateral orientation to the rack. That means you have a lot of freedom to lean forward and to dip towards the front without banging your head. That is a big plus. The second big plus is the stability. Due to that counterplate here that is screwed against the bars, there is no rotation and no shaking in these bars. So that is a big plus. It comes at a downside. Of course, it's a bit harder to adjust and to modify them, so you need to plan like 5 minutes to set them up compared to like 10 seconds on the V station. Then obviously the second biggest perk after the stability is the adjustability of bars like these. In the case of our SL Pro bars, we have one screw on top which you can tighten in order to prevent this shaking here, and this one you untighten in order to change the width of those bars. It then adjusts, and then I can screw it tight here, and I can screw it tight here. in order to again have minimum to no shaking in the bars. And now what you can do is, over the course of your career, you can always adjust those bars to the perfect dip width that you want to have, which is usually starting a bit more narrow at the beginning, and as you grow stronger and you may be more competitive in street lifting, you will find the wider grips probably a bit more adventurous. So over time you get wider and those bars will adjust to your needs over time. Next part that is obviously much nicer is the entrance. Due to that lateral orientation, you can always put the box in front and you have a lot of space to enter the dip bars and then to dip comfortably on them. Next perk is that those bars are designed in a competition standard. So we have a 50 millimeter diameter of the bars, and you can also in competition adjust the bars to the width that you need. So when you are a more competitive weighted calisthenics / street lifting athlete, bars like these make completely sense because you can train specific towards the competition and you don't need to get used to new equipment on competition day, which can throw off your technique. So if you're used to a V station and then you're dipping on parallel bars on competition day, it might feel strange, it might feel off because you're not used to it. So training with competition specific equipment is always recommended. I hope with this video I could clarify the downsides of a V station, maybe the perks of the V station, and also the advantages of a professional dip bar. So in the end, it comes down to, are you willing to invest a lot more money into a professional station compared to a cheaper V station? And that is a calculation that goes more to the side of a professional station, the more professional you get as an athlete. So as I said, we're not into fear marketing here at King of Weighted, so a V station is not problematic. It will bring you good results. The moment you feel you are more professional, you want to take your weighted calisthenics game a bit more seriously, I would definitely think about investing into a professional station, as it just has a few more benefits if you're going heavier on the dips.